And then in 2021, that's where my life took a major change.
Mm.
Um, I was uh, taking, I was taking doing things a little bit differently. I was doing my job, and then I was also Twitch streaming, and I was burning the candle at both ends, pretty heavily. And one day, my body said, "All right, I've had enough of that." And I ended up getting pneumonia, and not from COVID. It wasn't from COVID. Um, I ended up getting pneumonia and went to the hospital. And they said, "Yep, you got pneumonia." Or I went to the urgent care clinic. They're like, "Yep, you got pneumonia. We're gonna give you a steroid. We're gonna give you an antibiotic. Just take it easy." I did, but things started to get worse and worse and worse until that Saturday after I got diagnosed. It was Wednesday I got diagnosed, so that Saturday, I ended up getting to a point where I was just delirious. I couldn't breathe. It was getting worse and worse and worse. And my wife took me to the hospital. They checked me in, and I don't remember a thing after that until I woke up a week later because they had to put me into a coma. Yeah. I was in a medically induced coma for a week. Um, my body lost its ability to walk, to move muscles freely. Couldn't do any of that. When I woke up, I was still in ICU, um, still fighting off pneumonia. When I was in a coma, my kidneys started to shut down, so they had to start doing dialysis on me. Um, so it was a very scary situation. And, after I'd woken up, I was informed by my nurses, especially one nurse who got, when I went to a regular room, she was my nurse that night, and she looked at me and she's like, "That name seems familiar." And I said, "Well, I was in ICU on a ventilator." She said, "Oh, honey, I thought you weren't going to make it." Well,
Uh,
okay then.
Unbelievable.
Right. So you know, I'm going to be that person. Obviously the doctors knew what they were doing, but also I'll tell you the power of prayer works, my friend.
Hmm.
Um, because when I got out of the hospital, I spent a week in therapy and learned how to walk again with assistance, obviously, because, it's a very long process. And I got to go home. The next day I was at church the next day, and they said, the pastor said, "Aaron, you're a walking miracle." So, um, you know, that's where things change. That's where perspective changed. All the while, um, my parents were getting ready to move down here to our big city, and my dad and I started having a conversation. He said, "Have you ever thought about getting back into wrestling? Do you miss it?" I said, 100% I do. I said, "But I'm not in a position to do that right now." And he said, I know. But if you ever get the chance to do it, and if it works, if it works for you and the family, give it a go again." And I said, "I'll do that. I'll do that. I do miss it." And after that conversation, the very next day, he passed away. Because he was dealing with kidney failure, and he was on dialysis. And one day his port that they do the dialysis with went bad, and they took him to the hospital. And when they put him under to get the port replaced, he passed away right there. So, um, so I told myself, I said, after all that, I'm just like, well, life has changed, but if I get the opportunity, I'm going to do it. Sure enough, later that year, I went to attend an event at one of the breweries here in Kentucky, and an old promoter friend of mine who I also worked for. His name was Tony Presley, and he promoted the first iteration of New South Wrestling that was up in Kentucky from like, well, it was NWA New South for years. And then he moved it up to Kentucky, just became New South Wrestling. And then he stepped away to be with his family. And he was like, I'm ready to get back into it. And he said, if I get back into it, do you want to be my announcer? I said, 100%. Let's do it.
Wow, what an inspiring story. I mean, it's so unfortunate that, you had that horrible, horrible disease or horrible illness, and then being able to walk again, being able to get up. I mean, that's it's tough to do that when you're going through such pain, and the fact that you were able to live out your dream and have that conversation with your dad, uh, despite what happened later. I mean, it's quite a positive turnaround for you because you're able to do the thing that you love and enjoy doing, and it's the thing that gives you the most happiness. And that's the most important thing.
And the thing too is, I'm able to do it all the while I'm able to support my family because I have a great job, a great full-time job with a company out of Georgetown where I'm able to work from home and in the office. So we're able to flex. It wouldn't be possible if I didn't have that, and I felt like having that piece was maybe, the thing that was able to push me into it some more.
Yeah.
And I have the support of my wife. I have the support of my kid. They know there are some very long weekends without me. Because I do travel quite a bit. Because nowadays, New South is on a hold right now, but I'm working for Larry D with Generation X Pro Wrestling. I'm working with Next Gen Wrestling down in the Knoxville area. And that's with guys like Breeze and Fandango, Matt Cross, Penta was there recently. It was cool. I mean, it's a really fun promotion to go check out. And I'm doing a lot of production work with Appalachian Mountain Wrestling up here in Kentucky. I work for Shane Mercer and XCF. Uh, you know, I mean, and one of the other promotions I work with called EWA. They're about 15, 20 minutes from my house. So I'm loving that part. But I'm getting around, and you know, it, I thought for a while, that this might be a flash in the pan thing, but no, I mean it's the stories that I'm hanging on to with my father, and it's the stories the conversations I'm having with him that I hang on to, and that's what gives me the motivation. Again, and my family gives me the motivation to keep going as well. So it's I love what I'm doing, and I want to get out more. I'm just in a little tri-state area right now, but I would love to get out and see other promotions, work with other promotions, because I feel like all my past experience and my motivation brings a lot to the table.